So hello, Bridgedeer here, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to me slowly getting my voice back after I lost it from talking too much. So the great thing I can do to help my voice is to talk entirely in this video. I know, right? Smart idea. Anyway, I know that many a YouTuber has put their opinions out about Turning Red, and it's been done before, and the movie was released quite a while ago. But you know what? I decided I needed to weigh in with my opinions because the opinions of a 27-year-old woman about a 13-year-old not 13-year-old, but like a movie made for 13-year-olds is exactly what the internet wants. And excuse me, I have allergies. Also, let's give me credit for drawing something PG instead of rated R for once. Y'all can actually see my art without needing Jesus or baptism afterwards. So, you're welcome. Every now and then I can draw something kind of cutesy. Anyway, this is all my personal opinion, just for, disclaimer. I don't know if I really need to say that. Something tells me I do because this is the internet. If you don't like and don't agree, cool, you can just click out of the video. I mean, it's that easy. I mean, you could leave a nasty-ass comment down below, but, do you want to expend the time and effort on it? And it's just going to help me in the end anyway, so, yeah. So I'm just going to start off with saying point blank that I really, really enjoyed the movie Turning Red. I've watched it, 5 or 6 times by now. I even watched the making of portion of it too, and I rarely watch those anymore because I couldn't be bothered and couldn't care. I'm not really gonna go over bit by bit what the movie is about because this is about my opinions and the discourse that I saw on Twitter and stuff like that from this movie, not the movie itself. But I guess essentially, as a kind of like a full recap of the movie, it is a story about a Chinese-Canadian girl named Mei Mei turning 13 and getting slapped with a puberty stick that just happened to be in the form of a red panda. That doesn't make sense. Just go watch the movie. But I'm assuming most people who clicked on this video have watched the movie and have seen the Twitter discourse on it because, of course, it is Twitter and that's all Twitter is for, is discourse. But anyway, so yeah. I'm just gonna get into my opinion straight off here, because that's what this video is, and I'm just gonna warn you repeatedly that these are opinions, they're not facts. So you can disagree with me, and you can tell me to shove them up my own asshole, just like I can tell you to shove yours, too. So, just let you know on there. I saw a lot of people complaining, about the animation style. So we're just going to talk about the animation style real quick. I know we really want the juicier, Twitter issues and stuff like that people are complaining about. We'll get to those, but since this is a YouTube video and I want you to continue to watch, you got to get over this BS quick. All right, thank you. I saw some people complaining that the art style was atrocious, or the animation style, and that they hated it and it was ugly. Okay. That's opinion, you can have that, but I can also tell you that you're wrong. I don't know. I personally really liked this animation style. I didn't think it was that different than Disney's in general, but it was different enough to make it notable and rememberable. Because I feel like a lot of movies that Disney puts out in their Disney aesthetic, after a while kind of all blend together, and you're like, could have been this movie, could have been that movie, but at least Turning Red had a more interesting stylistic choice so that you'll know that's that. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, but that's just me. I really actually liked that they integrated a lot of anime-esque things to it, and the facial expressions, and a lot of the posing, and the scene setup. I thought it was hilarious. I think my favorite thing about the animation was, the big purple, starry-eyed expressions. Love it. Love to see it. Adorable. The only thing I think about the animation is that people might not like it right away because it isn't standard Disney animation style. And even though this is being put out there by Disney, it is still Pixar, and Pixar still is their own thing to a certain extent. And I think people just got so used to seeing that the Disney-esque style, where it is beautiful and polished, they just got so used to seeing it that anything else that breaks that mold might be jarring or just not as aesthetic to them, and that's okay, but I don't know. I just don't think that gives you the same right to say that the animation style and the art style is ugly per se. Different, but I wouldn't say ugly. There are some truly ugly ass movies out there that people really, really enjoy and love. So, whatever. I'm not going to go on that. But yeah, that's a small tidbit about the animation and just saying I liked it. I liked it. It was different. It was nice. It was smooth. Enjoyed it. Okay, so that out of the way, we're just gonna go right into some spicier bits where I'm gonna get a little testy. These are the main things that I saw people complaining on. So we're gonna talk about people's issues with periods. We're just gonna jump right into that. If you don't want to hear about periods, then you can go fuck off somewhere. I don't give a fuck. Just go. Leave, have fun, enjoy your life. But yeah. Let's go with this. Mimi's mom was depicted as so supportive and loving to her daughter, even though technically Mimi had turned into a red panda and not started her period, whatever, but that's what her mom thought it was. And I loved her interactions. Even though they were awkward, she was still trying to make it as okay feeling and calm Mimi down as much as she possibly could. And be like, oh no, it's natural. This is all it's nothing to be embarrassed about, that kind of thing. It was nice having movie treat periods as just a part of life, that it was something that just happens and it's just, normal. I love them showcasing how frustrating and embarrassing and uncomfortable and confusing the whole thing can be. You go your whole life without having to deal with this thing, and suddenly, bam, you have to deal with it the rest of your life. And that's super, super, I just think back to me when I was 13 when this happened, and I was felt like my whole life was just oh, I don't want to deal with this. It's over. I can't handle this. No. I opt out. Is there a button for that? I don't know. Me personally, I was just a very big drama queen though, so I still am, so whatever. Back to the movie though, I do like how they never once treat periods like they are gross or shameful. And honestly, this is how it should be when we talk about menstruation and this kind of thing. I'm not going to go too much into, I don't know, ranting about, how we depict things like that. But, we're going to get a little ranty. I did see people complaining, parents complaining, that their children were learning about periods through this children's movie and how they didn't appreciate it, they didn't like it, it was not okay for them. My young son saw this and asked questions, how dare they? And honestly, I can't help but wonder if these parents really want to parent or if they just want to sugarcoat the world and go around topics that make them themselves uncomfortable. Because for children, they don't find this kind of content uncomfortable. They have questions. They want to learn about the world. You as a parent are treating periods, menstruation, puberty, you're treating it as shameful. You're treating it as if this is a thing we don't talk about. You are perpetuating the embarrassment, the frustration, and a lot of these negative emotions. And you are putting those onto your child. So when your child asks about this, when they see it in a movie and the movie was treating it just as a thing that happens, and your kid's oh, this is just what happens, but you react negatively to it, you're teaching your child that that is a negative reaction to have. So again, just think people should, parents should double think about how they react to the questions of their kids if their kids ask these questions while watching any movie necessarily. Now, you can take my opinions about how to parent children and throw them out the window if you want, because I do not have children, but I'm just going to say that now. So if you want to sit there and be oh, well, you can't tell me crap because you don't have kids, well, that's fair on you. Here's a top take on this whole periods thing. Periods are gross. I'm not going to lie. They're annoying. I don't like them so much that I literally use meds to skip them. So let's just do that, FYI, in case you guys wondered about, my own body. I know you didn't, but, you're welcome for telling you. But they are gross. But you know what else is gross? Sneezing. Coughing. Using the toilet in any manner. No one is doing that and being yep, I feel great about myself right now. I'm not grossed out in the slightest. Any bodily fluids coming out of you without consent, I'm pretty sure, is going to be gross. I'm pretty sure if 90% of people, most people, if they had the chance to be I don't want to sneeze, I don't want to poop, I don't want to fart, they would say they would just choose the option never to do that ever in their life. But you know, beside that point, yeah, so sneezing, peeing, coughing, all that's gross. But you know what we don't do in media? We don't censor tissue boxes out of movies. We don't do it. They're all over the place. We don't throw a fit every time a toilet or a toilet paper roll shows up in a scene. It just normalized that people need these things even though they aren't exactly the most fun to deal with. They're not, the most pristine. They're gross, essentially. So ask yourself this. If this is the case and there's other gross things that we completely act like are completely normalized, why do we throw a fit about periods in general? I mean, the only difference I can think of is that all of the population has to do, like coughing, sneezing, all that other stuff. They have to do that. And only a portion of the population has to do with periods. And I think that's where we draw the line. And not everyone deals with it, and only these type of people deal with this last thing. And guess what, honey? That is misogyny. Yeah, I'm sorry. The only reason why we don't want to talk about these things is internalized or not internalized misogyny. Because it's an exclusively feminine associated thing, we brought up generations of people with things ingrained in the idea that feminine is bad. We continue to perpetuate this idea that periods are bad and shouldn't be talked about, and they are the most disgusting thing on earth, and we need to hide them behind, flowery language and stuff like that. Spoiler, also, because I keep saying feminine, I'm trying to use feminine as the word and not women or female. Excuse me, yeah. But anyway, I'm trying not to use the word female and stuff like that because, not all women have periods. And funny enough, I know, hot take, there actually are some men in the world that have periods. I know, shocker, right? Other types of people exist. So I'm sorry, I'm trying to make sure my language is more everybody involved, not just talking about women. But it still has misogyny in it, I still feel like, as a base work. Anyway, so yeah. I hate the fact that we associate periods and stuff like that with women, and our internalized misogyny tells us that's bad, women are bad, blah, 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 blah. Even though being a woman isn't defined by your period or anything to do with your, your parts and stuff like that, not a thing. So I really wish in the future we could start separating those facts a little bit more and just being like, you know what? Periods are, kind of gross, but you know what? They're just a thing, and a large portion of people have to deal with them, and it's not always women who have to deal with them, and we don't need to shame this aspect of people because it's just a bodily function nobody really can control. I think I've ranted, about this a little too much. But I do have one complaint about this section where May's mom's bringing up the pads and stuff like that, and it's the fact that don't use scented pads. Try not to. I understand. If it's your body, you can do what you want with it. But I know fragrance is a huge known irritant to people's skin and stuff like that. So just a thing. I know most children are not going to be watching this video. I hope not, honestly, because I swear like a sailor and I usually don't cut it out. So, sorry, not sorry. Monitor your children on the internet. Okay, so anyway, moving on to another rant. People complaining that Turning Red is not relatable to them. And I'm going to get a little personal about this one in general. And excuse me if this is a bit ranty already. I wrote the script down and I'm just apparently not reading it. So yeah, excuse me, not everyone had the same experience growing up as May and her nerd herd growing up. That should be obvious. The movie was not meant to be relatable to everyone. No movie or any type of media can be relatable to everyone. So I just think it's really ridiculous when people are turning around being like, well, I never was a 13-year-old girl and I didn't have to deal with that and this is so cringy and this is not relatable to me. Well, guess what? If it's not relatable to you, the movie wasn't made for you, bro. Like, seriously. It was like, the movie was to showcase one version of a preteen girl growing up, guys. And some of the struggles that some preteen girls, and just girls in general, or feminine presenting people, may have to face during this time in their life. That's not saying that everyone deals with this same type of, situations. I mean, who else, turns into a giant red panda when they get angry? I know that's a metaphor, but, it would be kind of funny. Anyway, even if the story didn't fit your own life, there might still be aspects of Mamie or friends or her parents that resonate with you, because there are more than just one character in this movie. And I just feel like people lack empathy when they watch it and say that nothing is relatable to them whatsoever. I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't even relate to being 13. You just skip that age in your life. You can't relate to being cringy and doing some stupid stuff or having emotional outbursts or having fights with your parents. You just skip that whole section of your life. Oh, okay. But still talk about relatability. I can use my own, anecdote here. Don't feel sorry for me, but this is gonna get a little, sad, so, whatever. But don't worry, I am a functioning adult, at least at this point, working on my issues. So here we go. So yeah, as an example, I didn't find a lot of Mamie's story relatable to me. I grew up entirely different than she did. I was not her at 13. Granted, I'm not Canadian or Chinese, but that's not the point here, actually, so I don't know why I'm bringing it up. But I can't resonate with that aspect of it. That's not my ethnicity. That's not where I live. So there's that. Also, when it comes to households that I lived in, compared to Maymay, I lived in a verbally and mentally abusive household where my needs were neglected on a regular basis. I was not treated as a human being. One of my family members that was really important into my life abused me, and I couldn't communicate with them. Unlike Maymay, who could communicate with her parents, even if her mom is a bit overbearing and a bit of a perfectionist, she still opens up to listen to Maymay, and I never had that in my own life with a parent. Whew, okay. I also, at 13, discovered I was, and still am actually, a lesbian, and that was a hard journey on its own to have to deal with at 13. Maymay doesn't have to deal with that struggle, and I'm gonna complain about the LGBT stuff later in this, so if you want to hear that, stay tuned. But yeah, I wasn't giggling over boy bands and flirting with classmates and just being out and open like Maymay was. I was repressed and scared for the backlash that could happen if my peers found out that I was different than them. And that really put a damper on, being a preteen, being a child, being a teen in general. But even though my story is so much different than Maymay's, I still loved it and could laugh at it, and I could still find pieces of the story that I could at least still understand or see myself in or see other people in that I knew at that time. I think her name is Priya. Yeah, I keep trying to call her Prius because I don't know how to talk. But, her with the fake Twilight, obviously Twilight book throwback, that kid was me. So at least there's that. I was that cringy person reading all the vampire lore. I wonder. Isn't that a surprise? But, yeah, no. My point is, the story wasn't meant to be specifically tailored to any one person's preteen years, obviously, because there's a whole team of women and other people working on this. They're all throwing a little bit of themselves into it. It pulls aspects from all these different people, and again, it's supposed to be, okay, you might have been this type of person growing up, but you might not have. But you might have known somebody like Abby or Priya, or I almost said Mirabelle, and that's the wrong movie. I forgot her name right now. I'll remember it after this video. But, there's things you can pull from it. I did notice a lot of people saying, oh, I grew up a boy and I don't relate to cringy preteen girls. Did you even, honestly, my whole rant on that is, did you try to relate? Because, excuse me, preteen boys do a lot of the same things. Gush over boy bands or girl bands or whatever, and watch too much anime. They wear cringy things. They say cringy stuff. Y'all want to bitch about being a cringy girl, it being a cringy girl movie, but also a lot of people aren't looking at the fact that there are a lot of cringy boy movies out there. I wrote down in my script, Weird Science. Has anyone watched Weird Science? That movie is all cringe. I also wrote down the Transformer movies. You can't tell me those aren't cringy boy movies. Come on. Anyway. I'm only using those two movies because I, at the top of my head, could not think of a coming-of-age boy story at this current moment. But I know they're there. They're there. And there is cringe in growing up. Everyone has cringe. I just think people want to bitch about Turning Red because it's talking and focusing on preteen girls and actually how they act And also to the 30-year-old men saying the movie sucked because it was unrelatable to them. Well, shit, it's like a movie was made for a 13-year-old child or something. I don't know how to appease y'all. I don't know how to appease anyone. This is kind of my segue into actually talking about people being bitchy about preteen girls, being cringy in general. And that's why the movie is garbo to some people. Garbage, garbo. Do we still say garbo? I don't even know. I said YOLO the other day, so I can't be asked what we say these days. But anyway, I said face it, being a teenager is, like I said, being cringy. We did weird and embarrassing things. I personally, as a teen, wore a tail to school. Yep, like Meme, but it was black because I was emo. Still kind of am, you know, yay. Fuck my life and stuff like that. I also dressed up as Applejack as a joke once. Like, full tail, ears, the whole 9 yards. It was great. I got bullied. It was great. I also put a pic of me and my friends cosplaying as My Little Pony characters at a Comic-Con in the yearbook my senior year as a joke to us being cringe, nerdy teens. It's not just girls who do these things either. Trust me, we even had a real-life dude dressed as a Discord in that photo. They're boys who do cosplay and wear the cat ears and have the weird, like, Naruto runs down the hallway. Like, we all know they were boys doing that too. It wasn't just, girls and whatever. And to point a finger at preteen characters and say they're not representations of real girls is ridiculous. It might not be all girls, but it definitely is some of them. And boys and non-binary persons. Sorry that these girls didn't sit down and shut up and look at, like, your future jack-off material, which is just me being kind of spicy about the fact that we over-sexualize young girls, and I feel like that also plays into the fact that some people said the movie was a little ugly and stuff like that. But, like, I'm not going to go into that whole thing because that's in a rabbit hole YouTube will not let me go. But the rest of my sentence that I cut off there to rant is, I'm sorry that you weren't able to force these teen characters to be what you think girls should be with your misogyny, internalized or not. And we're going to continue saying misogyny in this freaking video because I feel like this is the root of problems with this. And talking more about Twitter, discourse, and being centered around misogyny is kind of my segue. I'm going to call out my segues because they are bad. I want to make sure people know I know they're bad. But whether the misogyny towards this movie was internalized or not, it's still a huge problem. And it really shows this underline of people still having issues with feminine aspects and negativity. We're taught to shame girls for being too passionate, like Meme and her love for Four Town. We shame girls for expressing themselves. Again, like Meme with her dirty drawings or her being loud and boisterous. We are shown girls shouldn't be combative, like Meme fighting with her mother. Sometimes we are even told girls shouldn't make hard decisions because we are too emotional, like Meme choosing her panda for herself. And we are told girls should look a certain way. Meme definitely was rocking the panda ears tail combo. Now, I'm using points from the movies to show a clear, juxtaposition. Meme did these things that we think are negative towards women. Like, women shouldn't do these, girls shouldn't be this way, but Meme was this way. And I feel like that's also why some people are saying this movie's unrelatable, this movie is not about, real teen girls, real girls aren't like this, because we have this weird ideology with girls that, you sit down, shut up, you're not supposed to be too passionate, you're not supposed to be too emotional, you need to be reserved, you need to dress a specific way, you need to do all these things. Like, we have this strict checklist of what girls should be, but we seem to forget that there's no girl that is like that. There is no person on the universe. There is no type of person at all that checks every box of what femininity should be. Sorry, girl defined. Oh, I shouldn't throw shade like that in this video. But that's my 2 cents on the matter. My last small complaint, and this is small because I would make a freaking hour-long video about this, is that Disney is axing any type of queer representation that was that Disney axed any type of queer representation that was supposed to be in Turning Red. Which is not surprising with Disney. I did look it up and there were supposed to be more queer scenes in there. And Disney said, nope, we're not doing that. Which, so annoying. because again, I'm queer. I'd love to see see that kind of representation on screen, especially in preteen and teenage years, to show what that can look like on the big screen. But also, I do have this small thing, and my friend pointed it out to me too, was that in the making of documentary, one of the ladies who had worked on the movie, she was allowed to talk about her wife and her family and being married to a woman, and that was completely okay. But they axed scenes in the animated movie that were queer. So it's okay for them to do it in a documentary, but not okay to do that in their mainstream movies. Okay, we see you, Disney. Just fuck off with that. Fuck off. Also, that must have felt really, really bad for anyone who was queer making the movie to be told you're okay in some settings, but not okay in others. Do better, Disney. Anyway, ranted enough about this. I'm at 28 minutes. I have to cut this down quite a bit. But thanks for watching. I know my opinion means absolute crap, like I keep saying, but whatever. I love to hear you guys' own opinions down in the comments below. Sorry if I was a little muddled. I'm kind of just going off the cuff, even though I do have a script I can never follow, like I said. So thank you for watching. Everyone stay safe, stay as healthy as you can, and I will see you in the next one.